Hi there. In this mini webinar, I'm going to talk about using Google Docs for interacting with within a classroom. So for online courses that have an online component, Google Docs can be a really nice alternative to the discussion board for interactions. And so we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to give you both some pedagogical and some technical advice for how to go about setting that up and being successful with it in your courses. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my screen. We're going to go here. All right, so this is within a Google document is what I'm showing you right now. And just to kind of give you our objective and what we're going to talk about, again, we're going to collect ways for utilizing Google Docs in synchronous and asynchronous online settings. And you're going to get some tech instructions on adding a table, adding a bookmark or hyperlink, or making a document editable. So first, just to talk about this from a pedagogical standpoint, and this is going to hold true what we talk about as far as the pedagogy part. It's going to hold true whether you're using Google Docs specifically or whether you're using any other tool that allows for real-time collaboration between individuals. So I believe there's a tool in like the Microsoft OneDrive that allows for this, and there's probably other tools as well. But the key component that you want to be looking for to use things in the way I'm going to show you is the ability for people to be in the same document at the same time, making edits in real time. An example of something that doesn't work like this is Dropbox, Dropbox.com, because while you can share documents, I don't believe there's a way within Dropbox for you to have multiple people in the same document at the same time. So a couple of different ways you can use this, and I'm going to go ahead and flip back to my face for a second. A couple of different ways that you can use this. First of all, it's a really great thing to do for signups, kind of logistical things. And this is the asynchronous ways of using Google Drive and Google Docs. If you're wanting students to all pick their own topic for a research paper and you don't want any duplicates, a Google document can be a really great way to do that. It can be asynchronously also a really good way to have students collaborate on a project. I've had students collaborate like on an ebook together using a Google Doc because they can all be in there at the same time and all be contributing to it at the same time. It's also a really good way just to have students contributing little bits of knowledge on topics that you sort of lay out in advance. So maybe you're going to write 10 vocabulary words and students have to give a definition for one of them, but they can pick which one, something like that. That would be a good use of a Google document collaboratively. It's also really good to use them synchronously in synchronous sessions. So I've used this from an instructor standpoint to be sharing notes among people for something that's happening in real time. So you could have a notes document open while, let's say, you were lecturing live in a classroom, and students could be collaboratively sharing their notes and things that stuck out to them within the Google document. You can also do small group collaborations. So I've done some synchronous sessions, and we did this in my most recent class. We had a snow day, and we needed to facilitate some small group interactions that were going to happen face-to-face. And so we just created a bunch of different Google documents that were collaborative and assigned the groups to the various documents. And I'll show you how to go about doing all that in a second. But that was a really good way to let the students collaborate and have a little bit more of the feel of a face-to-face classroom. We're really talking about this as an alternative for discussion boards. And while discussion boards are sort of great and awful at the same time, what they can't do very well is replicate a non-linear discussion. So, you know, people coming at things from different points or people jumping into the conversation at different points, that's kind of hard to replicate in a threaded discussion board. So having sort of a non-linear open canvas that you can use within a Google document where people can choose to start typing at the top or they can choose to start typing in the middle, all different places they can choose to chime in is a really good way to use that. So what I'm going to show you now, we're going to jump back to the Google Doc, and I'm going to show you first a couple of technical ways that you can kind of help direct traffic for your students within that Google document. And then probably the most important part about this, and the part where most people go wrong, is the sharing part, because you have to set up some very specific sharing parameters. So let's jump back over to our Google document. All right, and then switch over to here. All right, so we've talked about the ways you can use Google Documents, and now we're going to look at some tech instructions. So the basic setup of this is really, really easy. You do need to have a Google account. If you have a Gmail account, that works. Or obviously a Google Drive account or Google Docs or something like that. Really easy to get started. drive.google.com is the website if you're totally new to it, where I would start. If you're just elsewhere in Google, I'm using the Chrome browser, which I highly recommend for this. If you're logged in, let's say to your Gmail, and you go to this little phone pad looking icon here, this will let you jump to any of the other apps in the Google universe. Again, this is specifically within Chrome, but you maybe are familiar with going to Gmail, but then you can also go to Drive, and that's where Google Docs are going to live. So I'm going to go to Google Drive. Within that, there's a whole folder structure that you can set up, but basically you would just go New Document, blank document. They also have a lot of templates, lots of things to explore in this universe, but basically just selecting a new Google Doc is all you need to do to get started as far as this goes. And so I'm going to bot back over to this one. You as the instructor can set this up any way you want. You can type things, you can set up some roadmaps, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So once you're in, once you've created this Google document and you have it kind of how you want, I would highly recommend, especially if you have a large group that are going to be in here, giving your students some roadmaps for how you want them to participate. If you just kind of leave it open as a free-for-all and you don't give a lot of instructions, that is going to cause it to be a free-for-all, and your students are going to get frustrated and you're going to get frustrated. So you want to give them specific directions for what you want them to do. And then I would also suggest giving them a place to do it. A really easy way to do that is to add a table. So I'm just going to go right here where my mouse is, and I'm going to show you how to add a table in, because it makes it really easy for your students to add things into a table. So all you need to do is you go here to the Insert menu, you click Insert, and then the second option down is Add a Table, and you can choose how many things you want. Let's say I want to use this for signups, so I would put name and then maybe report topic, and then your students would come in and they would type their name and they would type their report topic. Or if you even want it to be more helpful, you could start by preloading it with the list of names. So student 1, 2, 3, and then they would have even less room for error when they come in and type what their report topic is. Now, I do need to mention, you have to kind of be smart when you're doing this and know your students, because students do have the ability to delete anything that you put on here. So it's not like you can lock elements of it down. I have never had a problem with that in the higher ed classrooms that I've worked with, but you do need to kind of make sure your students know not to delete each other's work, if that doesn't go without saying, but also know that you can get back to see versions of this. So I've had people use a Google Calendar as a sign up before. Let me flip back to my face again, but I've had people use a Google Calendar as a sign up, and it was a really great way for people to sign up for different days for things. But because of the way the calendar was formatted, it was kind of easy for somebody to accidentally delete more than they intended to. So you can go back to the versions. Google basically saves everything that's ever been done in the document, and you can go back to those previous versions if you need to. So let me show you real quick what that looks like as well. All right, so if I want to see versions of this, bear with me. I'm going to go to help because I need to remind myself exactly where that is. Version history, there it is. Okay, so when you go to see version history, obviously there's not a lot in this document, but if students had made a lot of changes, I would be able to see all of those and revert back to a previous one. I believe, I don't remember exactly where that is. Oh, there it is, under File, Version History. Here we go. Name current version, see version history. So what you might do, if you are worried that you might have to backtrack because this is something new for your students or whatever, is maybe name your current version like checkpoint or something that you will know this is the last one that you edited. And that way, if it all blows up, you can go back to a specific version. But equally easy, just go help and type version, and then it's going to let you see the version history. And that's a really easy way to recover anything that happens to have gotten lost in the collaborative process. So that's how to make a table, which is a really good way to have your students contribute to things. Another thing I'm going to show you is how to do bookmarks and hyperlinks. So if you're doing something where it's going to get to be a very long document, let's say, go back to my face for a second. Let's say you want it to be like an ebook. You're going to have a class of, let's say, 15 people all collaborate on an ebook. That's going to become a very long, unwieldy document. So you're going to want to have some way to help people navigate through it. So let me go back to my screen again. Bear with me. All right, so back here on my screen, I'm going to do a bookmark and a link. So as far as bookmarks go, a bookmark is just a place where you may want to link to. There's two ways you can do that. One is you can use the style headings like heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. As you can see in here, I've got a few things already marked with headings like this. If I highlight this, you can see that set up as a heading 1. If I add something here, subheading, I can make that a heading 2. Just kind of a way to set up a hierarchy in your document. If you have those things in there set up with headings and subheadings, then you can create links specifically to those items. So let's say I already have a click here to jump to the bottom, but I'll say click here to go to the subheadings. Then I can turn this into a link. So I'm going to highlight those words. I'm going to go insert. I'm going to go link. And then it's going to bring up a whole bunch of different options of other things that are in my Google Drive, but I can also just go straight to those headings and hit apply. And that's going to make it a lot easier for my students to jump around in the document. If you know it's going to be something that's long and unwieldy, you might want to put some of those quick links in, even just to like click here to go to the top of the page, something like that. But the other thing you might want to do if you want to get even more specific is to add some bookmarks. So here you notice I have it says bottom of the page. I'm going to insert, and I'm going to remind myself where it is. Insert bookmark. Okay, so I've now added a bookmark at the bottom of the page. Now, when I go here, I can make a link. And you'll notice I have bookmarks added as an option. I can now link to that bottom of the page link. So now it makes it really easy for somebody participating in this document to click through and get to simple places of it. So if I click here, just to show you, click here to jump to the bottom of the page. Since I'm an editor in this document, I have to do a 2-click method. I have to click here and then click there. But it is going to take me right straight to the bottom of the page. So those are just a few ways you can make this Google Doc more easily navigable by your students. If you are obviously going to have a short document, like it's only going to be a 1-page sign-up sheet or a really quick, write a word association or something really brief, you wouldn't need to put any of those map landmarks in. But if it's something that's going to get long, again, like students collaborating on an essay or an ebook or a magazine or something like that, preloading it with those benchmarks is just going to make it a lot easier for your students and a lot less unwieldy. But now we are to what I consider probably the most important part about using Google Documents and with students is setting up your sharing settings appropriately. This is where I see people go wrong because it's really easy to go wrong. Google doesn't make it the most intuitive for what we're about to do. So I'm going to go back and show you my screen again. All right. And this is where the magic really starts to happen. So what I'm going to do is I want to share this document. And they do make it pretty easy to find this share button. So this beautiful blue button right here, share. Now, what they make it obvious and easy for you to do is type in a bunch of email addresses. Don't do that. That is going to require that people have a Google account. It might create a Google account for them when they don't already have one. So basically, imagine a big ol' X right through this. What you want to do instead is you want to go to shareable link. And you want to get a shareable link. Now, I'm using this in kind of a corporate type Google account or professional Google account. So I need to go one more step from what I just showed you. Because you'll notice right now it says anyone at Amanda Dills with the link can view. That means that it's a very, right now only me can get to this, even though I've turned on link sharing. So you want to check what it says right here, and you want it to say anyone with the link can edit. If you have just a regular Google account, you're going to see that option show up right here. You're going to see an anyone with the link can edit. It's going to look like this, only without saying Amanda Dills, it's going to say with the link. For me, I have to go to more, and then I select on. Here is anyone with the link. That's what I'm looking for. Now, The default here goes to view, so I need to switch that to edit. So basically your screen might look a little different than this, but you want anyone with the link, no sign in required, can edit. And then you hit save. Now you're going to get a beautiful link, okay, a very long gobbledygooky link to this document. You want to copy this link, copy it to your clipboard, and then that is a link that you can paste into an email, into your D2L course shell, or whatever your LMS is, however you would go about sharing that. You can share that link with your students, and then anybody that clicks on that link is going to be able to edit it with the same editing permissions that you have. Now, you might have noticed there was a couple other options, just a few things to play with and to be aware of. There's can edit permissions, there's can comment, and then there's can view. If you want to use this method to, let's say, share your syllabus with your students, you definitely just want to leave it at can view. You don't want them making any edits. Or there is a nice kind of comment feature in the Google documents, so you might want to select can comment as well. But for our purposes here, we're talking about student collaboration, and we're going to make sure it says can edit. So just a sidebar, you have a lot of different options. I generally am always picking anyone with the link can edit and sharing that link out. So that is really all there is to it for using collaborative Google Documents for your classroom. Just to kind of tell you what it will look like when you have multiple people in here. Right now, I'm the only one in this document. But as people join, you're going to see little icons show up here. And if they have Google accounts that they're sort of auto logged in, it will show their name. If they only, like they don't have a Google account or they're not logged into it, it will show them as anonymous and some sort of animal. So it will show them as anonymous aardvark, anonymous chinchilla, anonymous unicorn, something like that. One other tip I almost forgot to tell you is to make sure, or a good best practice is if you know you're going to have a lot of people making edits kind of in the same document, it can work really well if everybody picks a color. So you might have a chart at the beginning that instead of, not using it for the report topic, but you might just say text color, and then student one might decide, okay, my text color is going to be blue, and I can go here, and then everything that student types is blue. That can be a really nice way quickly to sort of keep things in check. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more information about using Google Documents collaboratively. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I highly recommend using this within parameters. So you sort of have to know what you're doing, be able to communicate with students what exactly you want them to type where. Otherwise, it can go a little bit chaotic, but it's also kind of fun. And anytime I've introduced this to a group of either students or faculty, people tend to get very excited the first time that they get into it because they're all typing at the same time and making edits together. And it's just really kind of a fun way to collaborate and build a sense of community, even though you're typically just dealing with text. It can be a fun way to do that. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I look forward to bringing you more of these webinars.